Silk 106.9.
And we have been joined in the Mirabelle Silk 106.9 studio by the Christians. Guys, how are you?
Hi, very well indeed. Very well, yeah.
Now, I'm right in saying that all from Liverpool.
Yeah, we're all from Liverpool. Yeah.
I've got to ask the obvious question.
Born and bred.
Red or blue?
Red.
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 But I'm a Man United fan.
Oh! Weird, isn't it?
Talk to you, massive Liverpool fan, and I have to ask everybody who comes in. I'm hated now by the middle.
Have you said that, Rima?
Got to ask. Now, obviously, for me, the 80s is the era I was born. I was born in 83, so I've grown up listening to 80s, 90s, noughties, and today. Why is it that the 80s music not only had its day in the 80s, but has just been reborn again now? How's that happened?
Well, it hasn't actually been reborn now, today, because we've been doing this for what, 9 years? Something.
10, 11.
And so it's never really gone away, you know. I mean, the guy who put this on all those years ago was quite clever, you know. Because the 80s music, you know, you can hate some of it, you can love some of it's okay, but you know, it had something about it in the 80s. I'm listening to stuff now that I never listened to when I was in the 80s. I listen to it now and I think it's quite full and intricate, you know, stuff that they were doing.
Yeah.
Like the pop music today, I don't know what it's like to you.
No.
But the 80s, that's something.
Generations of people in the 80s, we just had 3 or 4 channels, radio,
No internet.
records. We didn't have internet.
Because the internet and social media have just completely changed the industry, haven't they?
So there was a focus on actually listening to music was a big pastime for many people. It's what people would do when they got together socially. They'd listen to music.
Yeah.
Whereas now it can be background to a lot of stuff. So you've got all of the people who remember that, who were a part of listening to music and buying albums and sitting there with their friends and saying, "Come over on Friday night, let's listen to an album together."
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. We were just talking about this, but it's as if, you know, all their kids have just grown up. You know, maybe they're babysitting age or they're 16s. They're all out here having a good time.
Absolutely.
Maybe for the first time in a while.
I think also MTV had a massive impact in terms of the visual thing of what music is, and everyone has to go all dressed up here, and what the video I think had a big impact.
You can actually see what you're listening to.
Yeah.
And this is like a kind of gathering of people of the same ilk, really, and the same kind of, they want that enjoyment back.
Because I remember when I was younger, a new album or a new CD or LP or cassette came out, and it was like you were queuing for miles to get an HMV. That was how music to me was born into my life. So it's the internet. Do you think the internet's been a good thing or a bad thing for music?
Well, it's good and bad. Good and bad.
I think it's difficult because the way an album is, you talk about an album, but now it's a case of, well, you'll audition, you'll listen and think, well, the album I think is struggling at the moment because you used to buy an album, and even, I mean, obviously with vinyl you used to flip it over, and that was the thing, how a track listing would be put together.
I think that's the beauty of it, and I think that's why, you know, vinyls, they overtook some CDs, wasn't it?
Nobody buys CDs, though, wasn't
Nobody
much.
buys CDs. They buy our CDs, though.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, that was the only blip in the charts.
I'd still rather listen to a CD than on the internet, on a phone, you know.
The quality drop as well, isn't
The
it,
quality
nowadays?
drop in music is like, it's all, you know, sizzly stuff at the top end, and I can't listen to music like that. I've got to listen, you know, I've got to put a vinyl on and listen to it properly, like, or a CD, you know.
Because obviously music today, tones, the way it's put together and produced, is very different today. But some of the, I suppose, the modern artists, The Weeknd is an example I used earlier. He's just released a new track. It's absolutely unreal. But it's so 80s vibe.
Because it's a nod and a wink to what he grew up with and the inspirations, and not just that, but the zeitgeist or the theme or the culture of the time. And I think, you know, part of that thing is the hedonism of the 80s he's kind of remarking on as well.
Oh, the hedonism.
A part of it, you know, as he takes a chocolate. so much chocolate. There's so much chocolate in the 80s.
I think also the sounds in the 80s, people were experimenting, whereas now they know They went, I want that 80s sound, whereas they weren't saying in the 80s, I want that.
There was a girl. I mean, I'm not up on what goes on, but there was a girl a few years ago with ginger hair and stuff, and she just took everything from the 80s. And this was only about 4 years ago. So she became massive. You don't hear her now, though.
Is that LaRue or something?
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking about LaRue. Yeah.
LaRue is
Yeah.
Yeah,
This was about 12 years ago.
was that 12? See,
Yesterday.
don't even keep up with it all, you see. So
But yeah, that stuff was ushering in a sort of 80s, and that was around the time when this stuff was rekindled. And what you've got is a generation of people who may have been 18 to 30 at that time. And it's like we're saying, it's like their whole lives have revolved. Their kids have grown up a bit, and maybe they got some time to remember the kind of things that they really enjoyed.
Yeah. Because it's tricky asking. Well, it's tricky asking me about it, because even back then I wasn't listening to anything around me. I was listening to the 60s, the 60s, like the Beatles and the Kings.
Was that your inspiration when you got
Well, yeah,
into
I mean
music?
that was the music I was growing up. Even if I was only 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 10, it was in the house. Do you know what I mean? That was the music.
So do you listen to any of the I say modern, I think that's disrespectful, but current music? Are there any artists out there that you think, I really like this one? I think it's great.
Thundercat,
Yeah.
Mono Neon,
Mono Neon?
bass player, he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's individual little things.
I generally listen to Radio 6 a lot, like that sort of thing. It's more eclectic.
Yeah.
It's more alternative.
It's a wide
Dan
variety.
Harkner, my brother, he's pretty good.
Danny?
Dan Harkner.
I think a lot has changed, you see, with listening to music, and you can't really grab it. You can't say, well, they listen to that, they listen. Just everybody listens to everything.
Well, I suppose that's the thing for you guys, because you've obviously gone into an era which, as we sit here in 21, is, if somebody said to you, name an iconic era of music, the majority of people now would say the 80s. Whereas if I asked my mum, they would say the 60s and 70s. It's as the world moves, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the moment, for me, the 80s just seems to continue to grow and grow and grow through everything.
I thought
else.
also at that time
That doesn't mean I'm as old as his mum.
No.
But I think at that time you could be part of a clan, because as a Christians fan, I just shaved my head when I was younger.
Did you? Yes.
What can we expect from you? Obviously, you're here nice and early. What can we expect? Because by the time you get on there, let's be totally honest, there's going to be plenty of wet audience. There's going to be plenty of fluids about there. We saw it last night.
Plenty
At
of
5
wet.
o'clock, the whole scene changed yesterday, and it went wild. What can we expect?
The drink kicked in.
Well, it's not going to go wild, but it's going to go kind of damn squibby.
It's going to go or something like that.
No, it's going to be all right. I mean, you only get 25 minutes. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because I employ people to go to our shows. Really, not this kind of thing. Because this is a show for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a show. It's not like wet show or whatever goes on. You know. And you just come on, you do your thing. It's over in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know? But we'll do the hits that we have. You know, and hopefully get through them with the house band. You know,
Awesome.
Because we
Are
can
you
bring
looking forward to it? Because we've been locked down for a while.
Yeah,
We love these, we really
it's
enjoy
great.
Everybody's waiting. You know, you could see it from. I saw a few photos from yesterday, and it looked like people were going pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great
hopefully we'll
festival.
give people a little chance.
It's fantastic. It's my first time.
Oh,
being
really?
Here, particularly, I've been with the station 2 years, so it's my first time at Rewind.
Yeah, it's one of the
And yesterday I was like, I kept saying to Sophie and Jordan, I'm like, Billy Ocean's going to be on that stage, and I'm going to be able to see him in person.
Yeah.
He's an iconic artist. And we had sheets and sheets of rain for about 3 hours, and no word of a lie. Billy Ocean walked on stage and it stopped. As soon as he left, he absolutely threw it down again.
No, really.
It was unreal.
When the going gets tough, you see.
Yeah, that's how it started. That's how it started. And obviously, being back on stage, live audience, the excitement builds. Is it still surreal because of like the lockdown and everything we've gone through? Is every gig like, wow, let's embrace it? Wow, we've got it.
This isn't our first one since lockdown, right? This is about our 4th or 5th. So we've kind of like creeping back into it, I'm still forgetting the lyrics and everything because it's been a long time. And we're all kind of like creeping our way back into live.
Yeah.
In football terms, you're in pre-season training, you're still building up.
Your station.